Hi, I'm Eric Siegel with ericstrains.com, and today we're going to take a look at the new 3-rail O-scale Burlington Mark Twain Zephyr from Lionel. So here we have the Burlington Mark Twain Zephyr. Lionel cataloged this model in their 2013 Volume 1 catalog, and then they started shipping them out toward the end of 2013. Altogether, Lionel made 4 different Zephyrs. They made the Burlington Pioneer Zephyr, the Burlington Mark Twain Zephyr that you see here, and then they made 2 fictional Zephyrs, a Lionel Lines Zephyr that's got a neat blue stripe down the middle, and a red and green Christmas Zephyr that was offered in the 2013 Christmas catalog. Now, all 4 Zephyrs that Lionel made are modeled after the famous Pioneer Zephyr, even the Mark Twain that you see here. So what they did is they made one model of the Pioneer Zephyr, and then they simply relabeled it for the Mark Twain Zephyr. Now, for the most part, this is okay because the Pioneer and Mark Twain Zephyrs were very similar, but as a result, there are some discrepancies between this model and the real Mark Twain Zephyr. The biggest discrepancy is that this model of the Mark Twain Zephyr is short 1 car. The real Mark Twain Zephyr had 4 cars. The front unit was named Injun Joe, and then the other 3 cars were named Becky Thatcher, Huckleberry Finn, and Tom Sawyer at the end. But this set only has 3 cars. It's missing the Becky Thatcher car. Why? Well, it's because this is modeled after the Pioneer Zephyr. When the Pioneer Zephyr first went into service, it was a 3-car train. Now, later on, they eventually added a 4th car to the Pioneer Zephyr, but Lionel has modeled the 3-car version of the Pioneer Zephyr, and since they use the same model for both Zephyrs, since the Pioneer Zephyr is a 3-car train, so is the Mark Twain. I don't know if Lionel will make an add-on Becky Thatcher car in the future. It'd be really cool if they did, but who knows. Now, I don't have a big problem with the Mark Twain Zephyr missing a car. I got the Mark Twain Zephyr because I like the names on the cars. But if your goal is to get the most prototypical model, I would recommend getting the Pioneer Zephyr, as that's the most prototypically accurate model of the 4 Zephyrs that Lionel made. Now, regardless of which Zephyr you decide to get, they are all exactly the same except for the nameplates and the paint job. So even if you don't want the Mark Twain Zephyr, you can still watch this review because it applies to all 4 Zephyrs that Lionel made. So let's go ahead and start things off with some quick stats and facts on this set. One of the standout features of this model is that it features die-cast metal construction. So the car bodies, the vestibules, and the trucks are all made of die-cast metal, which is really cool. The overall length of this train is right at 50 inches. The combined weight of all 3 cars is 12 pounds 5 ounces, and the minimum curve needed to operate this train is 0.72. All of the guts for the train are located in the lead unit, which is labeled Injun Joe. On the inside, you'll find 2 flywheel motors, as well as the electronics for the legacy control system, as well as legacy rail sounds. There's also an operating smoke unit on the inside, which puts smoke out of all 4 stacks up on top here. All of the lighting on the train set is LED lighting, and that includes the lighting in all of the passenger compartments. As I've already indicated, each of the 3 cars in the train has its own name. A minute ago, I told you that the lead unit is named Injun Joe, so the middle car is named Huckleberry Finn, and the tail car is named Tom Sawyer. Now, some of you out there may be wondering where these names come from. Well, they are the names of characters taken from the stories of Mark Twain, aka Samuel Clemens, one of the greatest American writers of all time, and that's where the train gets its name. Now, the missing 4th car that I talked about earlier, that was named Becky Thatcher, which was yet another character from the stories of Mark Twain. Now, for those of you in the audience who may be young, or those of you who maybe have never gotten around to it, do yourself a favor, go to the library or buy an ebook or an audiobook or whatever, and read some of the stories of Mark Twain. There's a reason he's considered one of the greatest American authors of all time. There's a reason he's considered one of the greatest authors in the world of all time. And hey, last but not least, there's a reason they named a train after the guy. So, now that you know some of the stats and facts on this train, let's go in for a closer look and check out some of the great details and features on this set. Here's a look at the front of the lead unit. It looks pretty slick. We've got nice rivet detail all around, and then of course we've got the nice Burlington logo right here. There are clear plastic windows on the cab. The inside of the cab is lighted and contains 2 hand-painted crew figures as well as a fairly nicely detailed control panel. And then above that, we've got operating marker lights, an operating headlight, and some nice grille work. Let's take a look at the side of the lead unit, starting with the lead truck. This is about as much detail as you're going to see on a truck on this train, because the trucks between the other cars on the train have cosmetic covers over them, so this is about as detailed as it gets. Above that, we've got one of the many doors on this train. All of the doors on the train are cast in, none of them open, but that's okay because they did a good job with the cast-in detailing, and every door has separately applied metal grab irons on the side, and you've also got clear plastic windows on every door as well. Now, what's interesting is that on the lead unit and part of the Huckleberry Finn car, even though you've got clear plastic windows, there's a black insert behind the windows to prevent you from actually seeing through them. And that's a good thing, because if you were able to see through these windows, you would see the speakers and the motors and all the electronics that make the train work, and that would detract from the overall look of the model. Moving on down, we've got the Engine Joe nameplate, and then right here, this door is the beginning of the Railway Post Office section of the lead unit, and here we've got the swing arm that's used to collect the mail. Beyond that, now we've got the RPO placard, we've got a few nice windows, another cast-in door with a separately applied grab iron, and some nice step detail down here as well. Now let's take a look at the top of the lead unit. Right here, we've got a little separately applied horn. Behind that, we've got a little moving brass bell. Then we've got the 4 exhaust stacks, and as I said earlier, the operating smoke unit puts smoke out of all 4 stacks. And as always, to load the smoke unit with smoke fluid, you just pour the fluid directly down any one of these stacks. And then behind that, we've got another separately applied horn. Moving back, right here, we've got a removable panel. So let me go ahead and remove it. And inside, we find the compartment for the optional 9-volt battery, the master volume control, the run program switch, the Odyssey speed control on-off switch, and the smoke unit on-off switch. Okay, now we're going to take a look at what, in my opinion, is one of the coolest and the most well-designed features on this train, the vestibules between the cars. As you'll see, Lionel was really clever in how they designed these things. They really did a good job. So to get things started, let's go ahead and separate these 2 cars. This is the lead unit, the Engine Joe, and this is the Huckleberry Finn car. So what I'm going to do is press down on the vestibule gently. And again, these vestibules are made of die-cast metal. And you press down and then gently separate the 2 cars like that. Okay, I've taken the Huckleberry Finn car and put it on the other track and turned it around. And I've also put wood blocks up under it since it now does not have a truck on this end of the car. So now we can get a good look at both ends of this connection. So when it comes to the physical connection between the 2 cars, what's going on here is that on the Huckleberry Finn car here, there's a little tab down here, a metal tab, and then we've got a metal clamp up here. And then on the receiving end, on the Engine Joe car, we've got a little slot right here and a metal rod right here. So when you press down on the vestibule, it opens up this slot and allows this tab to go into the slot and lock in place. And at the same time, this clamp wraps around this rod, and that's what holds the cars together. Now, by itself, this little tab and clamp system that they have to keep the cars connected to each other is pretty cool. But what makes it really clever is that not only is it a mechanical connection to keep the cars connected to one another, but it's also an electrical connection. They have electricity flowing through this tab and clamp system in order to help the train operate more effectively. To understand why they did this, let's talk about the trucks for a minute. There are a total of 4 trucks on this train, and each truck has 1 center rail pickup roller. So that means for the entire train, there are only 4 pickup rollers. Now, the lead unit has 2 of the 4 trucks, and therefore it has 2 of the 4 total pickup rollers. So that means that each one of these 2 additional cars only has 1 truck and therefore 1 pickup roller. Well, when it comes to lighted passenger cars, anybody who's been in the hobby for a while will tell you that having a single pickup roller on a lighted passenger car is never a good idea, because there's no way that 1 roller can provide a consistent enough supply of power to keep the lights in the car from flickering, because if that one roller should go over a switch or go over some dirt on the track or some dust, you're going to get some really bad flickering in that car. And so that's why most high-end passenger cars that have two trucks have at least two pickup rollers, so that you get a much more consistent supply of power for the lights in the car. Well, since each of these additional cars only has one truck and therefore one pickup roller, without some help, you would get some terrible flickering with the lights inside these cars. So to combat that, Lionel is running electricity through this connection between the cars. So if you look here, there's a terminal here that goes to the center rail pickup on this truck, and there's a wire here that goes up and connects to this rod, and then the ground coming from the wheels goes to this terminal, which connects to the frame and this slot. So when you connect the cars together, what happens is ground is transmitted on this tab here, and hot, or center rail, is transmitted through this clamp. And what that does is it electrically connects all the cars together, so that each car in the train has access to all four pickup rollers on the train. And not only that, but you've also increased the electrical footprint of every car, because the electrical footprint is now the entire length of the train. So the train can go through a couple switches, it can go over some dirty track or some dust, and you're not going to get any flickering with the lights, because you've got this consistent electrical connection between all of the cars, and you've got a really big electrical footprint. And that's really cool. Now, of course, there's always more than one way to do something, and instead of doing it this way, they could have simply put two pickup rollers per truck instead of one, but that really wouldn't be as effective as this method, because you wouldn't be increasing the electrical footprint of each car by very much. They could have also used a tethering system where they put an actual cable between each car. That's what MTH typically does, and that works really well, but I hate having to mess with cables. This is a much simpler system. It allows you to very easily disassemble and reassemble the train, and yet you still have this very consistent electrical connection. So it's just a very clever method overall. So now that you know all about how the connection works, let's go ahead and put the cars back together. To do that, we just press down on the vestibule again, slide the car in there, release, and that's it. Couldn't be easier. So, moving on, the middle car of the train is the aforementioned Huckleberry Finn car. Now, this is a combo car. About half the car contains a baggage compartment, and then the other half contains a passenger compartment. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. If we take a look at the baggage compartment side of the car, we've got a nice cast-in door with a separately applied grab iron, and there's one on the other side as well. There's also some nice step detail down here. We've got the Huckleberry Finn nameplate here, and there's one on the other side, of course. And then below that, we've got this nice vent here that's a separately applied piece. There's one on the other side, and there's also a couple of them on the Tom Sawyer car that you'll see in just a minute. Moving down to the passenger compartment side of the car, we've got another nice cast-in door with separately applied grab irons, and there's another one on the other side, of course. And then if we take a look inside the windows, you can see we've got some really nice detailing in there, lots of people in there, and the LED lighting makes it look fantastic. Here's a look at the top of the Huckleberry Finn car. It looks pretty much the same as the lead unit, except we've got a couple add-on details here and here. Finally, we come to the last car in the train, the observation car, which is named Tom Sawyer. It's a beautiful car, so let's zoom in for a closer look. As we start to move down the Tom Sawyer car, you can see we've got another one of those nice vents like we had on the Huckleberry Finn car, and there's one on the other side, and then we've got the little 572 number plate right here. If we take a look on the inside of the car, you can see just like on the Huckleberry Finn car, we've got some great detailing going on. And once again, I think the white LED light really helps bring out a lot of that detail. Moving down toward the end of the car, we've got another nice cast-in door. There's one on the other side as well. And then we've got the nice Tom Sawyer nameplate right here. And if we take a peek in the window on the end of the observation car, you can see a bunch of people hanging out down there as well. Here's a look at the top of the Tom Sawyer car. We've got an add-on detail piece right here, and then some nice cast-in detailing over the observation part of the car. Finally, we get to the end of the train. We've got a little drum head here with Mark Twain's profile on it, and they've even got Mark Twain's signature right underneath it. And then up here, we've got an operating headlight as well as two operating marker lights. Now let's take a look at the underside of the lead unit. There are two trucks, and as I said earlier, there are two motors in the lead unit. So all 4 axles on the lead unit are driven. There are 2 pickup rollers, 1 per truck, as I mentioned before, and then the speaker for the sound system is right here. Okay, the last thing we're going to do before we start the Zephyr up is BFIMO, best feature in my opinion. Well, this time around, it really wasn't that hard for me to find a best feature in my opinion, because I am a huge fan of die-cast metal models. In fact, when I first saw these things in the catalog, a big reason why I ordered one of them was because in the description, it said it was going to have a die-cast metal body. Now, for those of you who are not in the hobby or have not been in the hobby for very long, you may not understand. You may say, well, what's the difference? A plastic model looks the same as a die-cast metal model. Well, they may look the same, but they're not the same. When you hold a die-cast metal model in your hand and you touch it, it's heavier, it feels more real. I really can't describe it very well, but those of you who have been in the hobby for a while know exactly what I mean, and that's why all high-end steam engines are either made of brass or die-cast metal, because there is a difference, and so I'm really glad to see Lionel making some diesels out of die-cast metal as well. And what's really cool is that they didn't have to do it, because the MTH Zephyr, which was cataloged around the same time, is a plastic-bodied model. So I don't think anyone would have thought any less of Lionel for making this a plastic-bodied model, but they went the extra step and they made it a die-cast metal model, and that's really cool. So for me, the best feature is the die-cast metal construction. Okay, now comes the fun part. Let's go ahead and start this thing up.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy?
Roger that. I copy. Over.
Very good. Start up and hold.
Yes, sir. Start up and stand by. Out.
Okay, first off, let's give a listen to the horn. And now let's try the bell. These legacy diesels have sound effects for 8 different RPM levels, so let's go ahead and rev the engine all the way up and then back down. Okay, we're on the roof, so let's go back down. And let's not forget the crew talk sounds. I know they drive some of you guys crazy, but I think they're fun.
Dispatcher, I got 3/4 of a tank. Can I pull? Over.
Roger that. Take the green. Over.
Very good. Thank you, dispatcher. Clear to pull. Out.
Dispatcher here. Take the green. Over.
Very good. Thank you, dispatcher. Clear to pull. Out. Ready to roll, dispatcher. Can I get to the main line? Over.
go ahead and roll it out. Okay, that about wraps it up for this review. This is a fantastic set that I'm happy to own. The die-cast metal construction is wonderful, the set is really well built, it sounds great, and the detailing is awesome. So overall, this is a really solid outing for Lionel. Now, as I said earlier, they did make 4 different versions of the Zephyr, although they are all based on the Pioneer Zephyr. There's the Mark Twain Zephyr that you see here, the Pioneer Zephyr, a fictional Lionel Lines Zephyr, and a fictional Christmas Zephyr that's done up in red and green. So there's pretty much a Zephyr to fit anyone's fancy. Now, if you're interested in purchasing one of these, the retail price is just under $1,100, which makes sense to me because it's an all die-cast metal model, so that's just about the right price in my opinion. Now, of course, if you go through a good Lionel dealer, you can probably get a little bit of a discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good train store to buy from, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at www.legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time.